What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Man Gap Modified Fabrication and Off-Road. Today I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a short update on some of the things we got going on, and we got a ton of stuff in for the JK Hemi swap. So I got home today, and like I said, it's been a little while since I've kind of worked on some things. And we did a big order last weekend with my uncle, and we got, I think, almost everything in that we ordered to start the Hemi swap. Pull in, it's like Christmas around here, so this is pretty cool. This is the new 3-core aluminum radiator. We've got our oil pan here. We got head gaskets. We've got other gaskets. I think those are the gaskets for the exhaust manifolds. We got our windage tray, a few other things, so that's exciting. We got enough stuff now to kind of get started. We're waiting on the harness, which is like 6 weeks out or so. We're waiting on the engine mounts to get here, so hopefully those will be here soon, and then we will get to pulling the engine. And first we're going to tear the engine apart, make sure everything's good, just check it all out. That's why we ordered the new head gaskets and head studs and all those things, so we can get that torn apart and put back together. And then when the engine mounts get here, we'll drop the engine in, obviously mount the transmission to it, put the whole drive train in all in one shot. And then we'll kind of let it sit for a little bit so we can wait for the engine harness to get. All right, there's a couple other things I kind of want to show you guys what we're working on. Also, later on, I'm going to get a full detailed list of kind of everything that we ordered, prices, all the things. We'll get it all broken down, obviously, because we want to show that this is a budget build. So we'll get all that stuff figured out. I have lists of everything, but in the future I will get everything broken down of what it is, how much it costs, where we got it from. Mainly everything's stock from Rock Auto. A few things are from like eBay, a few things are going to be from Amazon, a few things are from Jeep Speed Shop. So I'll break all that down with a detailed list of how much everything costs, where it came from. So I talked in my last video about some of the updates that we're doing to this thing, which is we've been mainly working on the gauges. The gauges have been really giving me a hard time. They would work, but they didn't work as well as what I wanted them to work. The temp gauge was not going to work, so we ended up building a little T. I'll kind of show you guys what I'm talking about, if I can see it. So, oh, it's right here. So right here, this is a T. It's kind of janky, but it was what I could think of to make this work. So the Hemi wouldn't run without the stock coolant temp sensor. So that's right here. This is the stock sensor. And then down right there, let's see if I can get this to focus. Right there where that wire connector is, that is another sensor that's going directly to the temp sensor. I'm sorry, to the temperature gauge inside. Right now, it's just roughed in. It's all just crazy wiring in here. So we got that set up. Here's this wire. However, I'm like 20 degrees off, and I'm thinking that's because the new sensor is farther out on the farther out of the water pump. So since it's not directly inside the water pump where it would have been, which is like right there, it would have been deep inside there, I think that it's just taking a little bit longer for the temp to read correctly. So I'll show you guys what I'm gonna do. So we ordered one of these little guys off of Amazon. This may be a little bit too small. There we go, got it to focus. Maybe a little bit too small, I'm not sure. But what my plan is, Oh, actually, looking at it now, it might be all right. So, right here, this is like this is from Sublime Industries, DIY Hemi. They basically sell a kit with this pipe, this hose, and then it comes with this this like little heat shrink piece. There's a aluminum coupler inside here. This slides over on both sides, and then you put the heat shrink on, and it tightens it down. This is just for, I think, just a generic Hemi swap, but it like works out perfect for this swap. It may work out for JK. I'm not 100% positive on that just yet. We'll learn that in the future. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to put this right here. And then my new sensor is going to screw in right there. So then it should give me full temp right off the bat. So it should give me a more accurate temperature reading. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Which, I mean, that makes sense. The sensor will be directly into that hose right there. So it should give me a pretty accurate reading. One of the big issues that we've been having with this was the fuel gauge. So here's our fuel gauge. The wiring for the fuel gauge is, I mean, it's simple. It's just like all the rest of them. It was this blue wire here. And down here, I found this wire here. This wire here is for the fuel pump fuel level. So we tapped this wire, and this wire here was actually hooked up into the gauge. So we hooked this wire in here. Oh, hang on one sec. See if I can switch hands here and make it a little easier. This wire here slides on in there. This obviously is not going to be how this is wired. This is just for mock-up purposes. So just so you guys know, this is just for testing. So we hooked up to this wire, and let me actually go turn my power on. I got a kill switch back here. So here's my kill switch. Flip that on. The lights are on. All right. So this wire here is tapped into the fuel level wire here. Now, when I turn the key on, you'll notice no fuel level, right? So that was driving me insane. I could not figure out what it was. So I thought maybe this is the wrong wire. We did a continuity test on it. Turns out that is the correct wire. However, we realized that there's 4 wires going back there. We realized that the second wire on that same sensor could possibly be the signal wire for that. So, like anybody would do, we just took a guess, right? And we cut it. And I tapped that wire. And guess what? Nothing happened. Shocking. So, what we ended up figuring out was this wire right here, which is the wire that I cut and tried to tie into, is actually the ground wire. So, this wire runs up to the stock PCM, which I no longer have. Therefore, that sensor is not grounded. Right here is where the stock PCM was. That's where I kind of built up a spot to put all my circuit breakers. One's for the winch. That one is not wired yet because my winch is still broken in half. All right. There. Still working on that. One of these is for the electric fan, and then one runs the transmission. So, enough about that. Let me show you guys. Let me grab my little ground clamps here. I'll go ahead and ground this out. So if I just grab this real quick, right there, and then ground this out here, watch what happens. Bam! Look at that. We have fuel level, and it's accurate fuel level because I actually just put a little bit of fuel in it. So that's sweet. Really, really excited about that. And then my RPM works. The tachometer is actually, let me hop in here. So with the Hemi in this Jeep, we have what's called a Dakota Digital. This gives a tach signal to the computer and tells it, oh, I'm sorry. It gives a tag signal basically to the transmission so that the transmission knows that it's spinning, that it exists. So originally when we did this swap, I was running into a big issue where we would put it into gear and it wouldn't do anything. And we couldn't figure it out, and it was making a horrible noise, and I'm thinking, oh, I smoked the torque converter. Something is bad with this transmission. Well, turns out nothing's bad. I'm just an idiot, obviously. I forgot to bolt the transmission, the flywheel to the engine. So the engine was spinning, and it was not spinning the transmission. So once I figured that out, got that taken care of, and then went to put it into drive, and the shifter would not go into gear. The lights would just blink on it because the 8HP70 is a fully electronic transmission. So when I did that, it still wouldn't do anything. So we're like, cool. So the cool thing about that is we were able to reach out to Russell at Sound German Automotive, which is where the harness is from. He was a huge help. And what was wrong, a few wires were pinned incorrectly on the shifter. So we just switched those around, and he knew exactly which wire needed to be where. I had bought this harness, I want to say like maybe 2 years ago, and they had slightly changed in that time. So it was a newer style. The computer, how do I explain this? So I had an older style harness with a newer style shifter, basically. But let's get back to the Dakota Digital. So the Dakota Digital gives a signal to the tachometer, and the tachometer then obviously reads tach. And it tells the transmission that it's spinning and how fast it's spinning. That allowed us to use our shifter, and then everything worked from there. You can kind of see my custom shift bezel. I say custom. It's not quite finished yet. I cut the hole a little bit too big. This is just some like cheap ABS plastic stuff from Menards, and don't worry about that. Still working on that. Oh, this is kind of cool. So we also figured out that this wire here, this is the illumination on the radio. Tapped the illumination on the radio and tied that into the gauges. I'll show you guys. Bam, check that out. So that's pretty sweet. These gauges are just some cheapos from Amazon. They were like $180 for the full kit. However, I didn't realize that the speedometer was in kilometers an hour, so I ended up having to buy this one here. But this one's kind of cool because it has left and right blinkers on there with a high beam emblem, and I was able to, let's see if I can even show you. Might be kind of a pain. So I was able to find, see those two wires that are twisted? Those two wires that are twisted right there are the left and right blinker. So once I tie those in to the mile per hour gauge, the speedometer, it should give me left and right blinker. I'll also do the same thing with high beam. So that's cool. That's exciting. That's pretty big headway with these gauges. I was literally beating my head against the wall trying to figure this out. We were running a tablet in the past, and the tablet's really cool, just with one of like the cheapo gauges. That's really cool, but it was kind of a pain. You'd be out wheeling and it would fall down off the dash or fall down under the passenger seat. It would get dirty, whatever. I don't know how accurate it really is, and honestly, I don't know how accurate these gauges are going to be either. Hoping that they'll be decent, but time will tell. But it's a mess in here, and I thought about doing a full video on all the wiring, but I'm like, who wants to sit through a whole entire video of me just doing wiring, trying to figure out exactly what I'm doing? I wouldn't want to watch that, so I didn't bring you guys with me. But this thing is sweet. This is a Boss 7-inch. I believe it's a 7-inch display. It's flickering right now just because of one of the settings that's on it. It's not broken. It's wired correctly. That's just kind of the way it is. And I wanted this because I wanted to be able to run my trail maps. And now I don't know if you guys know this or not, but with the Onyx map, if you have Android Auto and I believe Apple CarPlay, you can actually run Onyx on your heads-up display. So that's huge. That's really awesome. I was hoping I could like mirror cast on here and run like Polaris Ride Command or something like that, but I think the Onyx map is probably better. I bought it. I'm still trying to figure that out, how it works and everything. But so far, I mean, it's pretty sweet with just a few things, and it's really cool that it pops up right here. So in the future, if we do like an overlanding trip, or who knows, I mean, we're going to Kentucky this summer. Maybe it'll kind of help us just navigate the area a little bit better. So I was pretty excited about that. I thought that was pretty sweet. I'll show you guys a couple other things that I did also. So this was super cool, I thought. So back here, it's a mess. So back here, I don't have the floor covering in. It's right there. So that goes right here. It's nut certed. It just kind of sits in there. So what I did with this gas tank is I actually made a custom skid. My good friend Cody Allen at Michigan Off-Road Designs, he actually cut this for me. I bought the design for it and sent it to him, and he cut it on his plasma table. He had just gotten a new plasma table, so he cut it for me just to kind of work some of the bugs out with his plasma table, and he cut it for me for pretty much free. So that was awesome of him. Huge shout out to my boy Cody. So with that, I actually moved this gas tank back. I believe it is 3 inches. If you look under here, right there, the tank is basically as far back into the unibody as it can go. And I also don't have any unibody back here anymore. Well, I do, but not stock unibody. So I cut this unibody out. I made this whole bumper. This is like a 3x2 or something like that. Square steel, rectangular steel. And this is 2 layers of 8. It's actually some trail forged frame stiffeners. And then on top of it, it's got another layer of 8, which ties in to this whole mess here. And I actually wheeled this and came down. I didn't come down super hard on it, but I gave it a little love tap on this corner. And this bumper didn't move at all. But I'm pretty happy with it. In the future, I'm going to run some tubes or something like that around the sides. I think it'll just give it a more clean look. And I want it to match the detail front bumper with the tube work. I think that'll just tie together really nice. It'll look awesome. And I may possibly move my reservoirs and run a tube or something from here over to this tube work. But anyway, let's get back to what I was saying back here. So we moved the gas tank back 3 inches. We came up 6 inches. Now you had to do that because the axle is pushed so far back on this to make room for the 40s. We pushed the axle back, and at full bump, I didn't want any contact with anything. And the axle, you can see it right there. It comes right into this little opening, like perfect. So, I'll get the floor put back in here and all that good stuff. But what I want to show you guys is, this is cool, I thought. I have a stock power outlet here, and I wired this little flush mount light right there into the tailgate with a little switch. Bam. This thing's super bright. So I think that's like really cool, especially if you're like wheeling or something. I'm planning on getting like a vise or something that kind of goes in the hitch receiver here. So if you got to like replace U-joints or work on whatever, you could do it right here. And you got this super bright light shining down on you. I think in the future, I'm going to get some rock lights and just put them on the inside to another switch that's back here. So the interior lights will be just as bright, because these stock lights that are like 20 years old are not very bright. So that's pretty cool. I like that. That's going to be pretty sweet. Come in handy for sure. And that's really, for the most part, all we've done lately. My buddy Trev did a little time to the JK. Nothing real crazy. Just got the corners painted. They're not even mounted yet. Got the tail lights wired. Well, he doesn't even have them in. But that's basically all we have done lately. I did, however, get another valve cover because that one was cracked. I talked about that in the last video. So that's cool. I'll get that cleaned up and get that put on. Maybe I'll do a video just of install on a valve cover and show you guys how simple that is. It's incredibly easy. That pretty much everything on the Hemi is extremely easy to work on. And maybe that's just me being biased because that's what I know. But that's really it for right now. We are getting ready to go out of town. We're going to be going out to Florida for spring break with my family. But while we're down there, we're going to be meeting with a couple of really cool people. One of which actually both guys I'm really excited to meet, but one of which happens to be the owner of Locked Off Road. That's who my bump stops are through, front and rear. That's who Trev's bump stops are through. And dude, these things have been freaking awesome. So, Trev actually blew a rear coilover out on this, and it sat on the bump stop. He drove it home, and we let it sit on it for like 3 days, and it didn't lose any pressure. It didn't leak, nothing. It was absolutely perfect. I was really impressed with them and decided that that's what I needed. So on my setup, I'm running just a 2.5 locked bump stop up front, and then in the rear, we're running a 4-inch bump stop back here. I've been really happy with their products, and I'm really excited to meet them and do a little shop tour and kind of show you guys what he has to offer. I think that his products are kind of underrated. It seems like he's a little bit new on the scene, and I really want to showcase what he has and what he's made. I think that his products are so far been fantastic. I'm running Radflow coilovers and carbon coilovers in the front, and there's a possibility that maybe I could work something out and be able to run a set of locked up front, and possibly front and rear, and do some really hardcore testing on them. He typically sells kits for like Toyotas and things like that, but I had heard that he's trying to get more into the Jeep market, which is huge. Love that. That'll be awesome. Obviously none of that stuff is bolt-on for mine or Trev's Jeep, but that's okay. He does offer like longer lengths, like 12s, 14s, 16s. He may offer 18s as well. I would have to look on the site. But that's going to be really, really cool. I'm really excited to meet him and see what he has to offer and see some of the products. And the other guy that I'm going to be meeting, if you follow anything with Grand Cherokees, if you have a built Grand Cherokee or are interested in built Grand Cherokees, you probably know this guy. Detail. Daniel Till. That's where my front bumper's from. It's a DIY bumper that I ordered from him, and it is, in my opinion, one of the best bumpers on the market for these Jeeps. I think it looks the best. You can get it in a stubby, where it's just this section here without like the wings or the bull bar, I guess you could call it. But it's like my favorite style bumper. It's very like minimalist. It's light. It's small. It's strong. I really have no complaints, and he has some amazing work. He does some amazing work. His Jeep is absolutely insane. It's LS swapped. He's on 43s. I mean, it's a unit. It's going to be really cool to walk around his shop and be able to see that thing and bring you guys with me and show you a lot of the things that he's working on. He's doing some really big stuff. If you're interested in the unibody stuff or Grand Cherokee stuff, or you're building a 1-ton Grand Cherokee or something like that, he's the guy to look into. He was a really big inspiration for me when I was building this thing. I would always find myself on Instagram searching his stuff and looking, because he was one of the guys that was like, he was doing it, you know. So it's going to be really exciting and humbling for me to be able to meet him, because that's one of the guys that I definitely have looked up to in my fab career of building this thing. So I'm really excited to meet him. There's a possibility that we'll be doing some wheeling in the future. I'm really hoping that he's going to make it on this Kentucky trip with us this summer. That will be just absolutely epic. We'll get a ton of footage when we go out there. I'm really still learning how to get footage, drive, edit, do all those things. So bear with me. I'm really trying, and I'm really hoping that I can bring you guys some cool stuff in the future. Soon, I plan to drop a video of a vehicle walk around on this thing. For those of you that are interested, I'll show you everything it's got. Hear it run, maybe take you for a little ride in it. And I'm really excited for that. So keep watching. And when I get back home from Florida and stuff, I will go from there. So until then, I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you.